There we go. And we just need to make it turn around. And where do we get this one? There we go. See if we can get it to stand up here. There we go. Whoopsie daisy. There we. Yep, maybe we should turn that off. Yay, there I am. Oh, still haven't gotten anything in regard to the washery. This is my last t-shirt, so it would be nice to actually have them reply in regards of my thing so I can begin to wash clothes. I said like 48 hours. They should pretty much have passed 48 hours for in regards of them getting back to me on this. So anyway, just a side note, not really worth anything, but it is when you're last t-shirt and underwear as well, that's getting to the time where it begins to get a little yeah. Oh, let's see if we can get another background. See, there we go. Bible program. So let's see, there we go, and we have some 95% power. It probably goes very quickly turning, but I have something to test anyway in regards to charging, so that's nice to just let it roll and use some battery. Oh, do we actually have? Oh yeah, we have the big glasses. Yes, let's do that. It's always nice. Not actually, there's more power in these, but it just seems to be. Maybe I can actually do it without. But anyway, we were pretty much at a place where Chrysostom was talking about. I do wonder why I didn't actually set a mark, it seems. Or did I? This was the last page. And they fall from the number of the wise. He said this to show that even many of those who stood firm will fall. Maybe that's also in regards to the future, where Jesus talks about things going, what shall we say, in the wrong direction in some sense. Next, Daniel gave the reason why God permitted them to be involved in such trials again, and maybe it's something about future things as well. What is the reason to purge them, to choose them, and to make them white until the time of the end? This is why, said Daniel, God permitted these evils so as to cleanse them and to show who among them was genuine and approved, in telling at the same king's power that might he said, he shall do as he pleases, he shall exalt himself and become very powerful. And speaking of the king's blasphemous spirit, and again the question is this actually also talking about, is it actually, is it the Greek guy, or is it also in regards to future prophecy again? It does seem to be, at least in regards of Isaac Newton, the scientist, who studied biblical prophecy. At least he, if I remember correctly, he believed that this horn was actually not the Greek he believed it was actually Rome. But anyway, and speaking of the king's blasphemous spirit, he went on to say, he shall utter excessive haughty thoughts against the God of gods. And God of gods, that was of course be Jehovah. He shall prosper until the wrath be accomplished. Daniel was here making it clear that it was not Antiochus' own will, but because of God's wrath against the Jews that he was so victorious. But again, he's driving at that this is Antiochus. And again, that's one of two views, that I know of out in the world. So after Daniel told in many other after Daniel told in many other passages that evils the king would bring on Egypt and Palestine, how he would return, at whose bidding and under the pressure of what cause, the prophet then recounted a change of fortune. By the way, in regards of making the people white, it seems like a future thing, right? In regards of purifying them. Where was it? Yeah, to purge them, to choose them and to make them white until the time of the end. And in regards of the time of the end, if we're talking about the end time, well, that's still future, isn't it? So there's a okay, I'm not sure how that works out, but clearly in regards to the Greeks, it was not the time of the end. Maybe they was meaning in another way, but anyway, we're still here, are we not? And in regards to the prophecies, we know the Romans should come after the Greeks. So again, it's just how can it be the time of the end? So again, maybe there's something in regards to future things, in regards of this prince that Rome. I don't know. I need to look behind the text and see other translations as well. But that's something to study and look into, and weigh the evidence here and there, and see where it goes. But in any case, even if we don't understand what is written, if things will going to happen according to God's word anyway. So yeah. So let's see. After Daniel told in many other passages that evils the king would bring on Egypt and Palestine, and he even uses the word Palestine for Israel, how he would return, at whose bidding and under the pressure of what cause, the prophet, and actually it's just in our days, it's just already there shows if people use Israel or Palestine in their choice of word in regards of that area in Israel, well, in that place. Are people using the word Palestine? Well, then you probably know that they are supporting the Mohammedans. And if they use Israel, they probably, support the Jews. So just by the words used by a person, you can already. Anyway, not this is just in regards of our days, of course. The prophet then recounted a change of fortune and said that after enduring all these evils, the Jews would find some aid from an angel sent to help them as at that time there shall arise Michael, the great prince, guardian over the sons of your people. Yeah, we know Michael is the angel over the Israelites. So, yeah, great prince, guardian over the son. Yeah. It shall be a time unsurpassed in distress since nation began on earth until that time. At that time your people will escape, everyone who is found written in the book. Yeah, okay. By that he means those deserving to be saved, those in regards of being written in the book of the Lamb. Right? It's the book of life is the book of the Lamb. Who is the book of the Lamb? Well, that's Jesus. So that's his book in regards of. So anyway, so that's something in regards of where it seems like this is future events, and yet, So again, there's something to study for sure. At that time there shall arise a Michael, the great prince, guardian over the sons of your people. It shall be a time unsurpassed in distress since nation began on earth until that time. So it's like a time unsurpassed in distress. So there's going to be a time of distress, and it seems to me that must be future. Since nations began on earth until that time. At that time your people will escape, everyone who is found written in the book by that he means those deserving to be saved. But anyway, I'm still collecting puzzle pieces, but this is of course his view and his things and all that. So, of course, interesting to get some more information here and there and see if I can, you know. The thing is, you need to know some history as well to fill in the blanks or fill in the information. I didn't really care about much history anyway, but of course the Bible talks about prophecies and in regards of all these nations and all that. So you need to get some digging in some of these history things, you know. But I have not yet given a proof for the question I am investigating. What is that question? That God set a time limit for those involved in those trials. Trials, okay. Just as he set a limit of 400 years for the exile in Egypt. And again, I think he's wrong in regards to the Israelites was not in Egypt 400 years. But anyway, 400 years for the exile in Egypt and 70 years for the bondage in Babylon. Let us then, if he set any time limit for this third slavery, where can we find the answer to this? In what Daniel said in the verses following those I discussed. I said 2. Since he had heard of the many great evils which would befall the Jews, the burning of Jerusalem, the toppling of their state, it's like toppling is like turning around the state or turning over the state, the bondage of his people, he then wanted to learn what would be the end of these trials. There we got the trials again. And if there would be any change in that disastrous condition. So he asked the angel or the messenger who had appeared to him and said, Lord, what is to be the outcome of this? Come here, Daniel, he said, because the words are to be kept secret and sealed. So, indicating the obscurity of the words until the time of the end. So that seems to be again a future thing in our days, it seems. So when it comes, we should understand some of the things at the time of the end. Then the angel mentioned the reason why God consented to these evils, as long as many are chosen, made white, and purged, as long as the lawless act lawlessly, as long as all the unholy ones shall not understand, and the holy ones do understand. So it's talking about lawless and lawlessly, as long as the lawless and act lawlessly. As long as the lawless act lawlessly. Lawless, isn't that like lawless? Oh, act lawlessly. Okay. As long as all the unholy ones shall not understand, and the holy ones do understand. So, if the lawless acts lawlessly, and the holy ones, well, wouldn't they do the opposite, like trying to keep the law? So if this is in regards to the future and all that, it's still talking about the law, isn't it? You know, we haven't gotten to the time of the end yet, do we? Nope, I don't think so. We don't see Jesus yet coming on the sky and all that. So it's a little hard to collect these puzzle pieces and all that. You know, it takes time to research for sure, and read it and study and meditate and try to get what is going on here and connect the lines and so forward. But if he's talking about then the angel mentioned the why God consented to these evils. I can't remember where that is but it should be in the book of Daniel somewhere. But that's lawless. So as long as the lawless act lawlessly, well, as long as all the unholy ones shall not understand, and the holy ones do understand. But again, seems like there's something with the law then, if someone can be lawless, right? Anyway, next on predicted the time these evils would last. Daniel's angel said, from the time of the changing of the continuity. And again, if the Romans didn't put any idol in the temple and all that and just got destroyed, then we have a future temple at hand at some point where sacrifices would probably start, and at some point it will be stopped again, and we would see the abomination being put in the temple, as far as I can see. But anyway, I'm just trying to, I may be wrong, just putting it out there. In any case, the daily sacrifice was called, the daily sacrifice was called the continuity, for what is continuous is frequent and unceasing. And among the Jews it was customary to offer sacrifice to God in the evening and about dawn each day. So in the evening and dawn, that's in the morning. I think that's probably in the Torah somewhere. This is why they call that daily sacrifice a continuity. Yeah, okay. So this is something happening each day twice. Maybe there's something in regards to the 2,300 and in regards to the morning and evening. I don't know. Maybe not. No, but it's night and day. Night and day. No, maybe not. But when Antiochus came, he completely did away with this practice. So he came by and did away. That is what the angel meant when he said, from the time of the changing of the continuity. And by the way, in regards to the t-shirt, I rather have a t-shirt which stands for Jesus Christ instead. But, it's, but it says Israel, I stand with Israel or something like that. Stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. Yeah, that's what it says, But, yeah, that's pretty much, if God didn't want the Jews to be in Israel, they would not be in Israel. But of course, primarily, I'd rather have a t-shirt saying, Jesus is God Almighty, Jehovah, because that's really the one that we serve, right? And that's what the message that we should give out, we should. But anyway, yeah. But, you see, personally, that's my opinion. I think, if you want to put some air out of the balloon, you pretty much just let the Mohammedans go over to Egypt and Jordan, and let the Jews keep keep Gaza and the East Jordan and so forward. It's just conflict. But stop attacking Israel. If you're going to attack Israel, just lose more land. Don't cry about losing more land if you're going to attack Israel, boo-hoo, we're losing more country. Then stop attacking them, they just want to be at peace, leave them alone. Oh yeah, but no, you don't want to leave them alone. You want to attack them again and again and again, and you lose land, and it's so, stop attacking them. That would be my advice. So if you want to take things out of the balloon, just, Gaza and all that, just let them leave to Egypt or Jordan or something like that, That's just conflict. And you think this conflict will stop if no one actually does something in regards of, no, the conflict will not stop. It'll just continue and continue and continue. So the best solution that I can see is to just let them go over to Egypt, or Jordan. Let Jordan take those people that, and the same with Egypt, Of course, as I understand it, the countries doesn't really actually want to take them because, of course, they're pushing to make conflict on purpose. So they're doing it on purpose to make the people stay there. So let's make conflict for Israel and the Jews. And there we go. We have conflict in the world. Yeah, great. So anyway, another solution, of course, is to just cast New Testaments out to the Mohammedans. The Gospel of John in Arab or something like that, It seemed like some of the young ones in Gaza is actually, not having much to do, it seemed, from some of the videos I saw. Just throw a lot of Gospels of John and whatever, in Arab to them, But I saw something like that. There actually is some Christian going on. But, I'm thinking, if they are shooting rockets at as Israel, just throw, then just, bomb them with Gospels, small books. just over the city and all that, you know. They might burn a lot of them. Just bomb them one more, you know, and people don't get hurt when throwing out books from a plane, you know. Just let them, you know, fly all over, so it's possible for these people to actually read about Jesus Christ and the good news and so forward. They might convert and begin to make a movement for, you know, Christ and the truth, and might become a little more friendly by changing their hearts, you know. Anyway, that's another option, at least. So anyway, if we want some peace in the world, you know, but of course that's not going to happen because they want the conflict, you know. Yeah, it's not going to happen, I think. But I'm just saying, you know, if you want peace, but of course, no, people don't want peace, you know. That's all, you know. You're not going to get the Jews to move away from Israel, you know, and the Mohammedans want them killed, you know, murdered, or out in the ocean. This is not really going to work out, is it, you know? All these Jews from all around the world has fled to one single place, the very place that the Bible talks about, you know, being given to the Jews. And yet people want to, you know, you got to be kidding me, you know. You had like a book here, you know, like 2,000 years to actually read it, you know, and you Mohammedans are just over your top, you know. 2,000 years you could have read this book and known in regards to the Jews. And this place, why is that place so important to you when God says he gave it to the Jews, you know? And okay, you want to go against God? Well, yeah, just attack the Jews again. Yeah, that's just a stupid, insane choice, you know. If God wants them there, you're not going to pluck them out of the country. You know, even if you Mohammedans don't think they should be there and this and that and all that, well, God rules, and if God wants them there, you know, he's going to put them there, and he's not going to uproot them, and he's going to help them, and you can't do anything about it. So anyway, just yeah. Just I don't, you know, it's conflict. Just sending more rockets, you know, right? You know, killing people, murdering people. Yeah, just just get over it, you know. And of course, in regards to the Arabs, the Jews are your brother, you know. They're your brother, you know, coming home to that place, you know. And yet, no, you just. So anyway, but then Antiochus came, he completely did away with this practice. That is what the angel meant when he said, from the time of the changing of the continuity. And I think that would probably what people think in regards to the 2,300 days or something like that, from one place to another place, from losing the temple to I'm not sure. I can't remember how the calculation goes, but anyway. But if that actually has been fulfilled, that of course destroys the other things, but that people believe and all that. But anyway, from the time of the changing of the continuity, that is from the time that sacrifices was abolished. Yep, okay. There shall be 1,290 days, but it actually is 1,290 days. That is 3.5 years and a little more. I wonder if he's going, you know, 360 days and all that in a year. But anyway, then to show that there will be an end and deliverance from these woes, the angel went to say, blessed is the man who stands firm and attains 1,335 days. So this is in the, you know, the last part of Daniel, the book of Daniel. Adding 45 days to the 1,290 days. He did this because it happened that the conflict lasted a month and a half, and in that time the victory became complete, as did also the deliverance of the Jews from the evils which weighed heavy upon them. So he's talking about that these things should have happened in regards of the Greeks. Seemed. And when he said, "Blessed is the man who stands firm 1335 days," he revealed that deliverance. He did not simply say the man who attains, but the man who stands firm and attains. The reason for this is that many of the unholy ones saw the change, but it does not call them happy. He calls blessed only those who gave witness during the time of troubles. He did not desert their religion, and who then found abatement of their ills. This is why he did not simply say the man who attains, but the man who stands firm and attains. I'm not sure about these things, again, this, What could be clearer than this? Do you see how very carefully the prophet foretold their captivity and release from bondage? I'm not sure about that, but because again, it's still, when you're looking at the book of Daniel, it seems like many of these things in regards to the end, and the end is still future, right? Yeah, the end has not come. Jesus haven't come yet, The end is not here. It seems there are some prophecies that needs to be fulfilled in the future, so I'm not sure how he gets this to work with the Greeks. Blessed is the man who stands firm and attains 1335 days, adding 45 days to the 1290 days. That would be 1.5 months. Lasted one. He did this because it happened that the conflict lasted 1.5 months, and in the time of victory came. When did this happen? That is only lasted. The conflict lasted 1.5 months. I'm not sure how this works out, but. 3.5 years and a little more, then to show that there will be an end and a deliverance from these woes, the angel went to say, "Blessed is the man who stands firm and attains 1335 days, adding 45 days to the 1290 days." He did this because it happened that the conflict lasted 1.5 months, and in the time the victory became complete. I'm not sure what is I don't know. The reason for this is that many of the unholy ones saw the change, but he did not call them happy. He calls blessed only those who gave witness during the time of trouble, who did not desert their religion, and who then found abatement of their ills. This is why he did not simply say the man who attains, but the man who stands firm and attains. We have this time. I'm not sure if the timelines works out, because again, it seems to be in regards to Daniel talking about future events, but again, maybe it's really weird. It's not, he's talking about that, these things will not be understood until the end, right? But you go your way till the end and rest and arise to your lot at the it's just a. See, and he said, "Go, Daniel, for the words are hidden and sealed till the time of the end." So, according to this, and have we come to the end yet? I don't think so. So, there's a 48 days difference. But again, it seems God says that these things are sealed until, the end. It will be for an appointed times and a half. I think it's 3.5. And then they have ended, scattering the power of the Kodesh people, and all these shall be completed. And I heard, but I did not understand, so I said, "My master, what is the later end of these?" And he said, "Go, Daniel, for the words are hidden and sealed till the time of the end." you know, it just seems like this is some, like future things, not in regards to the Greeks. This seems like to be. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth wake up, some to everlasting life, and some to reproaches, everlasting abhorrence. This is a future thing, isn't it? I don't remember history talking about, besides, you know, when Jesus was here. Besides that, you know, we don't have a big resurrection, you know. And those who have insight shall shine like the brightness of the expanse, and those who lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever. And that doesn't seem like it's like in regards to the Greeks. It seems like, and he's talking about this, seal it to the end, in regards of the end of the, you know, the age, in some sense, I would think. You know, so, oh well, at some point I'll need to read it again, and again probably, and again, to get some more, you know, more information and remembering more things and all that. But, you know, I don't think this guy is, well, of course he have, you know, he has his issues for sure. Okay. What could be clearer than this? Do you see how very carefully the prophet foretold their captivity and release from bondage? Again, I'm not sure it's true in regards of his calculations, but anyway, he gave the time not in terms of years or months, but to the very day. Well, that you may know of my words are not based on conjecture. Well, come, let us bring in another witness to what I have said, a witness from the Jews regard with the highest trust, I mean Josephus, who has made their disasters a subject of tragic history, and who has paraphrased the entire Old Testament. Yeah, so we can use him as a witness in regards to the Old Testament as well. And he is said to actually have used a Hebrew manuscript and translated the. The thing is, the weird thing is, he's actually using the numbers that we find in the Greek manuscript and not in the Hebrew manuscript. So, you know, the question is, did the Jews themselves corrupt the years a little here and there in regards to the ages of the people? So let's see, how much was it? I think it was 650 years after the flood, and how much was it? Like 600, 500 on the other side. I can't remember. Sorry. He was born after Christ. We had like the Samaritan version went to 1300 to the flood. The Masoretic text 1656 or something like that, and the Greek goes to 2200 or something like that. I see 900 plus 2200, I think, to the flood. So we have three versions saying three different things, and we have different things supporting these. Anyway, he was born after Christ coming. And in speaking of the captivity, the thing is, you know, of course, in regards to the calendar, so it goes from 5,000 to 7,500 or something like that. So it's around 6,000 years. We don't have an exact date, at least. Well, some lay down an exact date, and it depends on which sources you use and all that. And but it is interesting that we have more than Josephus actually confirming the dates found in the Greek. We have another one that should have used the Hebrew manuscript as well, and then we have some Christian sources talking about it. So we actually have pretty many witnesses in regards of the longer dating that would bring us to around 7,500. But anyway, it's the calendar of the Jews says 5,779, I think, today. So if I'm remembering correctly. But we know they took 165 years out of the Persian period, So you would add to, would need to add to those, and then of course the question is if they also made corruption in regards of the years of people in the Old Testament, taking some years off here and there, and yeah, so. So coming and in speaking of the captivity predicted by Christ, he also discussed this captivity and set forth Daniel's vision about the ram, the goat, the 4 horns, and the last horn which rose after the others. And again, the question is if this last horn actually comes out from the Greek, or is actually representing Rome, which I think seems more likely. But anyway. We know that Rome would come, right? Because we know the 4th beast would come. So it seems a little, it seems reasonable that that Rome would also be in the vision in some sense. So anyway, just laying it out there. And the last horn which arose after the other, I do not wish anyone to be suspicious of what I have said. Come, then let us compare his words with mine. Okay, well, okay, so it goes to Josephus here. Josephus praised Daniel and showing exceeding high admiration for him, setting him above all the other prophets. Okay. When he came to the story of Daniel's vision, he had this to say: Daniel left us a book in which he made clear the accuracy and fidelity to truth of his prophecy. For he tells us that after he and some companions had gone forth to the plain of Susa, the metropolis of Persia, I'm not sure what a metropolis is, like a city or something like that. Just metropolis of Asia, of Persia. Suddenly the earth quaked and shook violently. His friends fled and he was left alone. He fell face down and was fixed fast to the spot, leaning on both hands. Then someone touched him and at the same time ordered him to get up and see what would happen to his people after many generations. Daniel then arose and was shown a large ram with many horns growing from his head, but the last horn was the highest. Then he looked to the west and saw a goat borne through the air. The goat rushed at the ram, struck him twice with his horn, knocked him to the ground, and trampled on him. Next he saw the goat grown larger and putting forth a very large horn from his forehead. This horn, this should be of horn, but again, in regards of the word. This horn was broken off, but 4 others grew up, turned to the 4 winds. As Josephus told the story, Daniel saw a smaller horn rise up from these, and it grew strong. Again, of course, it would be a great witness if Josephus actually says this, because then it seems to verify that maybe it's not the Roman horn. But as Josephus told the story, Daniel saw a smaller horn rise up from these, and it grew strong. But again, I haven't read everything in regards to Josephus. I've just read some snippets here and there, so I don't know what he actually said on these things. But it's nice to have his sources for sure. That's where I find in regards of that God gave God the word, all judgment. That's from Josephus in regards of Sheol. It has like a sermon or lecture on Hades or Sheol, or the realm of death. And I was interested in to see what the Jews, from a 1st century Jew, it would be interesting to see his viewpoint on it. So I read it and I found this wonderful quote that just seems like it was coming from a Christian, talking about God the Word, and God giving him the authority, and he will judge the living and the dead and so forward, I think it was. But you can find that in the lecture of Hades or Sheol from him. I quoted it some places because I find it's a fine, I've never seen anyone quote that place before, and I've never seen that before. It seems very Christian for sure. That's or maybe in regards of understanding from the Jewish mindset of the 1st century, that they knew about the Word, the Word that was God. And later on, just, you have the Targums, I think, talking about the Word as well. You're placing God with this Word in the Targums. So it seems like the Jews actually understood there was something in regards of a word. Anyway, God showed Daniel the vision, was telling him that war would come upon his nation, that Jerusalem would be taken by storm, the temple would be pillaged, the sacrifices would be hindered and cut short, and that this would last for 1,290 days, question mark. 1,200 and I'm not sure that actually adds up with history. But anyway, I don't know. Again, but it just seems like it talks about, if you read Daniel, that these things is something for the end. And the Greeks was not the end, we're still not at the end, we are at, as far as I know, we are at the iron and clay at the moment. So we are at the end, when the stone is at some point coming and destroying the whole statue. So that's when Jesus is coming back. Daniel wrote that he had seen these events in the plain of Susa. He also made it clear that God explained to him what he had seen in the vision. God said that the ram signified the empire of Persia and Medes, and the horns, those who would hold royal power. Oh, the horns. Those who hold, that maybe fits in regards of, it seems like there's two kings or something like that, still having, it's a little weird, but something was going on for sure. It can be a little confusing when you read it, and then there's this king, and then there's this king, but wasn't there prophecy about that king, but now we have another king. What is going on here? Anyway, he further said that the last horn signified that there would come a king who would surpass those others in wealth and glory. And again, I'm not sure in regards to this last horn again, if it, either Rome or this guy, this guy, either the Greek guy, or Rome. God then explained that the goat would be a ruler from among the Greeks, who would twice clash with the Persian king. I don't remember having seen anything in regards to twice clash. It just comes and clash into the... Well, anyway, with the Persian king, defeat him in battle and take over all his empire. The first large horn on the goat's forehead signified the first king. That's Alexander the Great, of course. After this fell off the growth of the four horns. After this fell off. After the horn break off, actually, it breaks the his dominion and kingdom, in some sense, breaks, his power breaks, this rule, and then we have four horns. It's a little funny, because when you're reading it and studying it, things are sitting more, and then when you're a little finished with the topic and get on other things, you tend to forget some of the things that the conclusions that you got when you studied it, and you need to I remember reading some of the things that I wrote on Facebook, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that sounds pretty good, the conclusions that I got to, but it's just, you lose some of the, at least at the, there's a lot of information, it's just huge amount of information out there. It's hard to, keep fast on everything, After this fell off, the growth of the four horns and the turning of each of these to the four regions of the earth was a sign that after the death of the first king, who had neither sons nor family, his successor would divide the empire among them and would rule the world for many years. And I think it was his generals that took over these four places and became rulers and kings. And from these successors, the explanation continues. There would arise a king who would make war on the Jewish laws, take away their from a government or something, take away their therefrom of government, pillage their temple, and prevent their sacrifices from being offered for 3 years. Okay, again, I have no, I can't check it because I don't know much history, so I can't really go either way if this information is, you know, in regards to 3 years. But and it did happen that the nation of our fathers underwent these sufferings under Antiochus Epiphanes, just as Daniel. Okay, so he's still quoting Josephus, maybe. And Antiochus Epiphanes, just as Daniel had seen many years before and had written, would come to pass. So if this is quoting Josephus, he seems to agree with this assessment, I think it's called, that it is actually the Greek, Greek little horn is actually Greek and not Roman. But anyway, I'm sure Newton also had his reason why he would say it would. You know, I have one of the, if you go to Daniel displays and then look up some of the writers on it, and you can, you know, one of them had, you know, commentaries, and one of the commentaries had, you know, quotation from Newton, and he used a lot of time on these things, you know. What could be clearer than this, question mark? Now it is time, unless you think I'm making you vary, now it is time to come back to the question we propose for investigation, namely the Jews' present slavery and their bondage of today. This was the reason for going through all their exiles. Pay careful heed to me, for our contest is not concerned with ordinary, everyday matters. At the Olympic contest, people have a patience to sit from the midnight to noon waiting to see who will win the crown. They take the hot rays of the sun on their bare heads and do not leap before the winners are decided. And you know, just vanity, right? Sitting there looking at people doing things that is just totally unimportant, you know, and totally unimportant in regards to who won and which and all that. Just who cares? Who cares? Anyway, before the winners are decided, our context is just, you know, the information is just empty. There's no worth in the information, you know. You may know all the names on a football team and so forward and this and that, but it's just empty information. It's not worth anything, you know. It doesn't change anything, you know. Just you're looking at a game, using hours and hours and hours on these weird games and television that doesn't change anything, just keeps you away from studying the Bible, finding Christ and so forward. Yeah, well, Satan is a crafty one. Okay, so I shall offer as my witness that same. Oh, does he? No, did I? So our contest today is not. Oh, no. Okay, okay. Midnight to noon, waiting to see who will win the crown. They take the hot rays of the sun on their bare heads and do not leap before the winners are decided. Our contest today is not for Olympic prize, but for an incorruptible crown. It would be a shame then for us to grow very, I think, and give in to our fatigue. What I have said has sufficiently proved that the 3 captivities were predicted, the first lasting for 400 years. Again, that's wrong, but anyway, the captivity in some sense, it was just being in Canaan. It started, as far as I know, in being in Canaan, which, you know, was Israel, and, you know, became Israel later on, and then going to Egypt. And of course they wasn't in slavery all the time in Egypt, you know, that Joseph was there and pretty much took care of them in you know, as long as he lived. So they got a good place for the sheep and whatever, you know. So it wasn't like 400 years being kept captive in Egypt. So, you know, so if you do the calculations, it's, you know, there are some good videos on YouTube doing these calculations, and yeah. Anyway, let's see here. So 400 years. The second was 70, and the third was 3.5. again, something I need to study in regards of if this is agreeable. But anyway, now let us talk about the present bondage, because if we actually look at the book of Revelation, we also have these 3.5 years, and that is in the future, isn't it? It's not in the past, because the Greeks are pretty much done, right, in regards of, so if we have like some of the same time, it seems like there's some time zones that agree in the book of Revelation, and we have the book of Daniel saying this is for the end time. So I think there might be something with the end time. You know, he uses like 3.5 and then 1,260 days in the book of Revelation, and he uses also, I think, weeks, or you know, he uses these 360 days of a year, and you can see it's the same. He has, you know, God is using different ways of expressing the same thing, and you can see that in the book of Revelation. But it seems like there's some of the numbers seems to be maybe have something to do, maybe also with Daniel, you know. Something to look into. Again, there's a lot of things to look into, but anyway, it's now let us talk about the present bondage of the Jews, to show that the prophet also predicted this one. I shall offer as my witness that same Josephus, who is on the side of the Jews. Well, he pretty much got to work for the Romans, but he was a Jew, yeah. Listen to what he says subsequent to his account of Daniel's vision. He said, in the same manner Daniel also wrote about the empire of the Romans. Okay. And that they would capture Jerusalem and devastate the temple. Now again, it would be nice if we could see if there was anything in regards of an idol being placed, but I don't think the Romans did that. I just think they destroyed the temple. They got, you know, they got enough of the Jews, you know, and their rebellion against them, so they just destroyed the temple, you know. And later kicked them out because they rebelled again in 135, you know, in regards to this false Messiah that the Jews apparently believed in, because they rejected Jesus, you know. They wanted a Messiah that could kick out the Romans, you know, and set up a kingdom and so forth. So they made their own version that they wanted, but he failed miserably. I'm not sure if there was more, but there probably was. But at least that one of them was very popular. That was Bar Kokhba, or Ben Koch is something, I can't remember the whole word for what we actually was called. But anyway, please consider that even if the man who wrote that was a Jew, he did not on that account let himself emulate the obstinacy of you Jews. After he said that Jerusalem would be captured, he did not dare to go on to say that it would be rebuilt. Anyway, please consider that even if the man who wrote that was a Jew, he did not on that account let himself emulate the obstinacy of you Jews. After he said that Jerusalem would be captured, he did not dare to go on to say that it would be rebuilt, nor to mention a definite time for its restoration, because he knew, well, that's his conclusion anyway, he knew prophet had not fixed a definite time. Yet when Josephus spoke previously at the victory of Antiochus and his devastation of Jerusalem, he did not state how many days and years the captivity was going to last. He did not state how many days and years the captivity lasts. Okay, that doesn't seem to support, you know, Chrysostom does it in regards of his years and all that. If Josephus didn't actually my bad. Yet when Josephus spoke previously of the victory of Antiochus and his devastation of Jerusalem, he did state how many days and years the captivity was going to last. Sorry about that, my bad. That would be interesting to read Josephus, you know, in regards to these things, for sure. So just to get his view on, you know, we're going 2,000 years back in time nearly, and that's interesting to hear some opinions from those being closer to the things. For sure, you know, just to hear their point of view, how they look at it, you know, and even from a Jewish perspective, you know, that's interesting. But Josephus said nothing of this sort about the bondage under the Romans. He wrote that Jerusalem and the temple would be despoiled. But he did not add that what had been devastated would be restored. For he saw that the prophet had not added anything about such a restoration. Josephus did say all these things as God revealed them to him. Daniel left behind in his writings, so that those who read them and observe how they have come to pass must wonder that Daniel was so honored by God. But again, if there wasn't any abomination put in the temple, we are going to have a future temple according to Jesus. You know, if the Romans didn't put any disgusting idol in the temple, and you know the Jews would probably, the Jews would have, they would. Why would the Romans, the Romans were not stupid, so why would they do that, So it seems like Romans just wanted, like, just keeping order, peace, and we have a whole empire to rule, So just so they just wanted order and peace, and so why would they stir up peace by setting an idol in the temple? Of course, I don't know. Again, I'm still looking for some answers from people in regards of it, and I could of course call them on the phone. It's a little expensive on the thing I have now. I don't think I'm allowed to call to Israel on the thing I have, the mobile thing I have now. I don't think I can call Israel, so I might actually end up changing again. I actually is to went from one to another, and I might jump another, so I get some hours in regards of so I can call Israel free. It's probably pretty expensive. I called on my first one and to Israel at one place, talked an hour with someone and a Jew, and well, that became very expensive. So anyway, so it would be nice to just call and actually have it free in regards to these 10 hours. I don't think there's anything on the things that I have now, so I can't. I think I can call Europe, most of Europe, free. But anyway, I have to ask. Let's see here. But Josephus said nothing of this sort about the bondage under the Romans. He wrote that Jerusalem and the temple would be despoiled, but he did not add that what had been devastated would be restored, for he saw that the prophet had not added anything about such a restoration. Josephus did say all these things as God revealed them to him. Daniel left behind in his writings, so that those who read them and observe how they have come to pass must wonder that Daniel was so honored by God. And in regards of the time and so forth, I know Ken Johnson, I think, he talks about, he thinks that it was actually prophesied. He has some things in regards to, but I think he probably has some things wrong and all that, and he seems to promote this 7 years tribulation and all that. And again, where do you find it? And they go to the 70 weeks of Daniel, but again, 70 weeks of Daniel seems to me to actually be in regard, they seem to be fulfilled, yet talks about outside the 70 weeks, it seems as well, until the time of transgression or something like that. But it seems like it's the Messiah being cut off in the middle of the week in the 70 week. Well, if it's the Messiah being cut off in the middle of the week of the last 70, the last 70 weeks, well, it seems to be fulfilled, doesn't it? And why take 1 week and just put it in the future and then have 69 here? It's just weird, just when Daniel is getting like a time for the Messiah, when the Messiah is going to come, and if that's a curse on these 70 weeks, that Jews are not allowed to calculate them, because if they calculate the 70 weeks, they find out that the Messiah should have come according to Daniel like nearly 2,000 years ago. And who came like nearly 2,000 years ago? Who came? There's only one. There's only one that fits the bill, and the Jews, of course, have a problem with that. So anyway, let's see here. But Josephus said nothing of this sort about the bondage under the Romans. He wrote that Jerusalem and the temple would be despoiled, and he did not add that what had been devastated would be restored. Oh, yeah, we already, my brain is not functioning pretty good at the moment. It's pretty. Daniel left behind in his, okay, very great, okay. So he says that Daniel didn't. Again, I'm not sure in regards to Ken Johnson how sadly he took me off of Facebook. It's really sad because he's studying, and even if I'm not agreeing with him and so forward, and who knows if he's working for Rome, who knows, but I don't know. But anyway, in any case, he still had some good things. He still have a lot of good things. You don't throw out the baby with the water. So it's very sad that he just because he's one of the serious people that looking into things that you could that one could ask things and all that. But maybe I'm not that likable. Apparently, I'm not that likable. That's just how I am, apparently, sadly. Yeah. Anyway, and just to ask some questions, people don't like asking, some questions here and there. If they're promoting those 7 years tribulation, I just want to know, where do you find those 7 years of tribulation in the Bible, in the scripture? Could you show me where you find it? Just show it to me where you find this 7 years tribulation. So at least I know where it's coming from. And of course, there's in regards to these things going back to the Jesuits, in regards to making this popular, in regards of, and there's still a lot of things to research. But as I understand it, the Jesuit needed to point the Antichrist into the future, so they made this weird doctrine, that we see people promoting. And again, be careful of wolves in sheep clothing. That was what Jesus said. We have to, just ask some questions. Where do we find the 7 weeks, the seven, tribulation thing and all that, and then they go into all this rapture thing and all that. It seems like when Jesus comes back, he's going to send his angels out and take us to him. Get us in his barn, right? Like the parable and all that. So I'm not sure in regards to a directly rapture. Jesus is going to come back and send out his angels. So the question is, of course, didn't it actually sound from the Bible that we are going to get a lot of things? We're going to go through a lot of things before Jesus is going to send his angels out to actually get us. I think there was. Where was it? Matthew something, right? Matthew. And again, as I understand it, this thing is written in some of the other gospels, and Kent Hovind made like a, he collected them all and put them together in some sense, so he knows something about that. That's not to say that I agree with everything in regards to Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind thinks that we should correct the Hebrew scriptures by the King James version, and I'm like, I don't think so. But anyway, so again, we have a way of not agreeing with each other and so forward. But that doesn't mean you throw out the, like in regards of the, Kent Hovind have so much good material in regards of evolution and creation. And just because he make a, he does, he's, if he's going out doing stupid things and all that, it doesn't make the material bad that he has made, So anyway, I think I need to go to the bathroom, the throne. So I'll just pause this. Så prøver vi igen. Så er vi på. Ja, det er lettet, om man vil. Og vi er i gang med at kigge. I was looking for that place again, but here we have something in regards of it. Yep, I think I found it. It's like 24, Matthew 24, in regards of him coming and so forward. There's a lot of good parables. Need to read it again for sure. Get some more. You always pick up something. When you're reading it again and again and again and again. There's so much information. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, that should go. Okay, so let's see. But he did state how many days and years the captivity was going to last. Okay, so that's Josephus. He's saying, he did apparently state the days for in regards of Antiochus, apparently. But Josephus did, he says nothing in regards of, in regards of this time. But let us consider where it was that Daniel said that the temple would be despoiled after he had made his prayer in sackcloth and ashes. There we have the sackcloth and ashes again, Could be, it could be cool to try out in regards of finding some sackcloth and then getting some ashes and then just, Anyway, Gabriel came to him and said, but of course, in regards of fasting, Jesus told us we shouldn't show that we are fasting. Of course, in regards of the day of fast, where the day of atonement, where, as I understand it, that you are to fast, you are to inflict your soul on that day. That's why that could actually be a great day to do the sackcloth and ashes, I would guess, to try to get in the mood of being afflicted and fasting and but besides that, he told us not to don't show people that you are fasting for God and so forward. Gabriel came to him and said, 70 weeks are cut short for your people and for your holy city. Look, the Jews will say he didn't mention the time. Here we go in regards of 70 weeks. But the time is not the time of the captivity. What is mentioned is the length of time after which the captivity is going to come upon them. It is one thing to speak of how long the captivity will last, and another thing to state the number of years before it will arrive and be upon them. Not sure, but we read, 70 years are cut short for your people. No longer does God say, for my people. And yet the prophet said, let your face shine upon your people. But God thereafter was estranged from them because of the bold crime they were going to commit. Presently the prophet gave the reason, until transgression will stop and sin will end. ? What does he mean by the words, until sin will end? What the prophet is saying is that the Jews are committing many sins, but the end of their evil deeds will be the day they slay their master. But the end of their evil deeds will be the day they slay their master. Okay, the master. Okay, that would be Christ. So, but the end of their evil deeds will be the day they slay their master. Christ also said this, fill up the measure of your fathers. You killed your servants, he said. Now added to that the blood of your master. Where did he say that? I don't remember. He's saying that he say now added to the blood of your master. Did he say that somewhere? I don't remember. He said in regards to a parable, something. I can't remember. My brain is not working that good at the moment. See how the thoughts of Christ and Daniel agree. Christ said, fill up. The prophet said, until transgression will stop and sin will end. What does end mean? That no sin thereafter is left to commit, and until everlasting justice will be introduced. I'm not sure about that. But what is everlasting justice? except the justification given by Christ, and until the sealing of the vision and the prophet and the Holy of Holies to be anointed, that is, until prophecy shall cease. For this is what is meant by to seed, namely to bring anointing to an end, to bring vision to an end. This is why Christ said the law and the prophets until John. Well, the problem is there's still a lot of prophecies in the law and the prophets. Are they not valid anymore? Anyway, do you see how, and actually in regards of the law and the prophets until John, I think it's like in 2 books of the New Testament, and you get more information one place than the other place, where you can see, you know, get it straight in some sense, if I remember correctly. Do you see how this threatens utter desolation and the payment for sin and acts of injustice? For God did not threaten that he will forgive the sins of the Jews, but that he will execute vengeance upon them. And when did this happen? When were prophecies completely done away with? So you're telling me that we have prophecies in the Bible that is not going to be filled up because now it's done away with because of, you know, God changed his mind, or what? You know, what are you saying here? When was anointing ended so as never again to return? Even if we be silent, the stones will shout out, because the voice of the facts is so clear. For we could not mention a time of which these predictions were accomplished, other than the long and many years already past, and the years which are going to be longer and more numerous still. Daniel put it more precisely when he said, "And you will know and understand that from the going forth of the word, of the answer that Jerusalem was to be rebuilt until the coming of the anointed leader, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks in total." Pay careful attention to me here, because here lies the whole question. The seven weeks and the 62 weeks make 483 years. For he is here speaking not of weeks, of days or months, but weeks of years. From Cyrus to Antiochus Epiphanes, and the captivity, there was 394 years. Why is that in any interest? However, Daniel makes it clear that he is not talking about the destruction of the temple under Antiochus, but the subsequent destruction under Pompey, Vespasian, and Titus. He further extends the time and instructs us from what point we must start counting, by showing us that our reckoning is not to start from the day of the return from captivity. Oh yeah, by the way, I read something in the Matthew that was interesting in regards of, you know, Jesus saying, you know, the first ones that are invited didn't have time to, you know, in regards to the kingdom of God. And then he ends up destroying them and send his servants out to call whosoever, you know, have time for it. But I can't remember where I read. I just read it when I was there. It was pretty interesting, I think, because you know they wouldn't accept Jesus, and then of course, you know, Israel is getting spread out to the whole world. So anyway, he further extends the time and instructs us from that point we must start counting, by showing us that our reckoning is not to start from the day of the return from the captivity. From what point must we reckon? From the going forth of the word of the answer that Jerusalem was to be rebuilt. Jerusalem, however, was not rebuilt under Cyrus, but under Artaxerxes. Yeah, but we have to remember it starts when the when the decree is given for it. So, who was called the long-handed, for after the return of the Jews, Cambyses was ruler, and then the Magians, and after them Darius Hystaspes. Next came Darius' son Xerxes, and after him Artabanus. After Artabanus, Artaxerxes the long-handed. Okay, that's a lot of a lot of kings, but Cyrus was the one that conquered Babylon, I think, according to prophecy. But again, then you have another king as well being talked about. But that's one king under Artaxerxes. Well, it's not rebuilt under Cyrus, but under Artaxerxes, who was called the Long-Handed. So after the return of the Jews, Symbius was the ruler, then the Magians, and after them Darius Histaspes. Next came Darius' son, Xerxes. Okay, so Xerxes, 1, 2. We have more. And after him, Artabanus. After Artabanus, Artaxerxes, the Long-Handed. Oh, well, there's a lot of people, historical thing, you know. I have no way of, you know. So ruled Persia. During the 20th year of his kingship, Nehemiah returned and restored. So Nehemiah returned and restored Jerusalem. Ezra has given us an exact account of this. So if we count 483 years from this point, we will surely come to the time of the last destruction. And so it is that the prophet said, it shall be rebuilt with streets and the surrounding wall. Therefore, what he says is this: after the city has been rebuilt and has recovered its own appearance and form, count the 70 weeks from that point, and you will see the slavery which has not yet come to an end. So it seems like he wants to start the clock later on, instead of actually when the decree goes out to begin to rebuild it. But the scripture says, I think, pretty clearly that it starts from when you have the decree of rebuilding Jerusalem. So I'm not so sure of this, you know. But if we push it forward, he might actually go to the year where Jerusalem is destroyed. But then you have, but what then about the prophecy of the Messiah? Because if you calculate the 70 weeks, you get to the time of the Messiah. So again, it seems to be something out in order. I think it's like 29.5 AD you get if you actually calculate it from when it goes forward, the decree, and that would of course take it to when Jesus, you know, pretty much is cut off, you know. So to make still more clear this very point, namely that the evils which now grips the Jews will not come to an end, he goes on to say, after the 70 weeks the anointing will be utterly destroyed, and there will be no judgment on it. He will destroy the city and the sanctuary with the help of a leader who comes, and they will be cut off as in a deluge, ? Says, I'm not sure why. There will be no remnant left, nor a root to grow up again, until the end of war, which is brought to an end by the vanishing of the people. Didn't God say in some of his prophecies that, you know, Jews couldn't be annihilated? You know, there would always be Jews, according to him, you know, if I remember correctly. So anyway, someplace. But again, of course, this guy has his agendas, of course. And again, in speaking of this slavery, he said the incense and the oblation will be abolished, and furthermore, on the whole idea of, actually, in regards of his argumentation here, is that the Jews will not come back to Jerusalem and not make their temple again and all that. The problem with this conclusion, of course, is what we see nowadays and what is going on at the moment, you know. They are in Jerusalem, the Jews are in Jerusalem. Boo-hoo, I guess, you know. But he seems to want to count from a king later on, and apparently it will then fix his way of getting to 70, I guess. 70 weeks. But then again, you still had to have, what's it called? Is there any abomination of no? I don't know, but it's just really, it's not easy, you know. And again, in speaking of this slavery, he said the incense and the oblation will be abolished, and furthermore, on the holy place will be the abomination of desolation. Okay, so I just want to know, was there any abomination of desolation in the 70 AD, you know? And on the holy place will be the abomination and desolation, and accomplishment shall be given to the desolation until the end time. When you hear him say until the end time, what else is left for you Jews to look forward to? Until the end times, okay. Well, okay. What else is left for you Jews to look forward to? And furthermore, what does this mean? Furthermore, that is in addition to what he has said, that is in addition to the destruction of the sacrifice and the oblation, there will be some other greater evil. What is that evil? On the holy place will be the abomination of desolation. By the holy place, he means the temple. Yeah, well, again, did that happen in regards to the Romans? Because as far as I know, they just destroyed the place, By the holy place, he means the temple. By the abomination of desolation, he means the statue set up in the temple by Antiochus, who destroyed the city. Why he's going now to we're talking about the Romans, are we not? So why he's jumping now back to Antiochus? If we're talking about the 70 weeks, you just can't jump back to Antiochus, Yeah, we're talking about the Romans. Maybe it's because he knows that the Romans did not put up an abomination of desolation. So thereby he cannot support that by his preaching, and thereby he tries to, squeal around it or something like that. He's talking about the 70 weeks and then goes on, give me a break. And again, in speaking of this, let's try again. Again, in speaking of this slavery, he said the incense and the oblation will be abolished, and furthermore, on the holy place will be the abomination of desolation. And again, before that, after the 70 weeks, the anointing will be utterly destroyed, and there will be no judgment on it. He will destroy the city and the sanctuary with the help of a leader who comes, and they will be cut off as in a deluge. There will be no remnant left, nor root to grow up, until the end of war, which is brought to an end by the vanishing people. And again, in speaking of this slavery, right? We're talking about this slavery, so it must be still in regards to the 70 weeks. He says the incense and the oblation will be abolished, and furthermore, on the holy place will be the abomination of desolation. That will be an idol. An accomplishment shall be given to the desolation until the end time. When you hear him say until the end time, what else is left for you Jews to look forward to? And furthermore, what does this mean? Furthermore, that is in addition to what he has said, that is in addition to the destruction of the sacrifice and oblation there will be some other greater evil. What is that evil? On the holy place will be the abomination of desolation. By the holy place he means the temple. By the abomination of desolation he means the statue set up in the temple by Antiochus, who destroyed the city. Why are you going back to the Greeks? You're talking about the Romans, but maybe because the Romans didn't put up an idol? Question mark? Is that the reason why you now fling back to the Greeks? To Antiochus and say, well, in regards to the abomination of desolation, it just seems like he's just now jumping at it, because Jesus is talking about this thing in regards to, we saw that. So the question is, if the Romans didn't put it there, if the Romans didn't put, an idol in the temple, but just destroyed it, because of the rebellious Jews, because they couldn't accept Jesus and wanted their own Messiah, wanted the Romans out of their country and so forward. Well, if that is the case, then we still have a future temple, because Jesus says, this abomination will stand in the temple. And if it haven't happened yet, it will happen, in the future. So let's see how he jumps things, and he went on to say, desolation unto the end. It is true that Christ came into the world according to the flesh long after the day of Antiochus Epiphanes. I wonder if he's like trying to pull straws here, or trying to whatever he can hang on or whatever, But when he prophesied the captivity to come, he showed that Daniel had predicted it. Yeah, but well, that was in regards of this abomination. This was his reason for saying, when you see the abomination of desolation, yeah, well, did they see the abomination of desolation in regards to the Romans? I'm just asking. Which was spoken by Daniel the prophet. Again, he's speaking of something in regards to the future. So he's speaking in regards of 30 AD or around that, and he's talking about this, the abomination of desolation. Talking about Daniel. The question is has this happened in regards of the Romans, or will there be a new temple built? I think that's pretty important, because if it haven't happened yet, there has to be a third temple. Anyway, standing in the holy place, let him who reads understand. So it's going to stand in the holy place, this abomination of desolation, in the future. If it hasn't stood there in regards to the Romans, it's going to stand in the third temple, probably, at least, a future temple. Let him who reads understand. The Jews called every image and statue man-made an abomination. Okay, good. The Jews, that's would be an abomination, so why not do that, So by his veiled reference to that statue, Daniel showed both when and under whom the captivity would take place. As I showed before, Josephus also assured us that those words were spoken about the Romans. He goes back to the Greek, and now he flips out, it's just confusion, it's just I'm still looking for the answer. Did the Romans put any abomination in the temple? Because if, which he says, Jews called every image and statue made by a man an abomination. Did they put an abomination, a turd in the holy place? If they did not, we have a future temple that needs to come around, whether you like it or not. Anyway, so abomination of desolation, yeah. And when that happens, Jesus told the Jews to flee. Don't get your things and all that, just flee out in the mountains. Quick, quick, quick. Now, can't go too fast. I have no idea why, but maybe Jesus is coming back and sorting things out at that point. I'm not sure, but something big seems to going to happen at that point, according to Jesus, if this is a future prophecy, which it seems to be to most, very likable to be, could very likely be. And I'm still studying prophecies and all that, and hopefully more people will do that as well. And but in any way, of course, the most the most important thing is to find out who Jesus Christ is, in regards to prophecies, it's of course nice to know what is going to happen and so forward, and be prepared in some sense, but the most important thing is to find out who Jesus Christ is, of course. So anyway, so by his veiled reference to that statue, Daniel showed both men under whom the captivity would take place. As showed before, Josephus also assured us that these words were spoken about the Romans. Well, again, if these words are spoken about the Romans, did they put an abomination in the temple? So, what is there for me to see? And again, does the 70 weeks actually talk about an abomination of desolation in the temple? I know Jesus talks about it, but and we have met. Did it actually? Is it found in Daniel at that point? Oh well, lots of gaps. Daniel. 591. It's just, I would like to have just a version where it's just, I want that book, and then in the side, boom, just take up. Could actually, people could actually fix it up in the top as well. That would maybe also work, or maybe in the bottom, but then I've seen versions where you have the names, where you can see, okay, this book, there we go, and you can just, instead of, it's just much easier. Where was the 70 weeks? And true the ground and acted. This is in regard to the horn. Here we have the 62 weeks. And in the middle of the week he shall put an end to slaughtering and meal offering. And on the wing of abomination he shall lay waste, even unto the complete end. And that which is decreed is put out on the one who lays waste. I think that would be the Roman Caesar in regards of that's the guy being cast into the lake of fire when Jesus comes back. So maybe, but again, how would you the Messiah is coming after the 69 weeks. So if you're going to take these 70 weeks like he's calculating it, I think you get into problems in regards of when he actually needs to be cut off, right? Because every week is like 7 weeks, like let's see, 70 weeks, and we have. So if you're going to get it into the future, you have a problem because 1 week is 7 years, and if you make it ending in the 70 AD, well, Jesus is going to be executed after the 69 weeks, so that doesn't work. That seems to fail in regards of his, as far as I can see, because then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be cut off. Now we already have 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks. So the Messiah needs to be cut off after those 69 weeks. So if he points it to the future, that instead of just doing what the scripture says and counting from when the decree go out to restore Jerusalem and so forward, as is also found in the Bible, well, then he gets onto a whole gets into some problems, it seems. Anyway, sometimes you. But he's skipping here and there. Anyway, I couldn't really find the abomination thing in the 70 weeks. So again, where he, I'm not sure. It seems like he's mixing things up here and there. But no surprise, of course, Okay, what is there for me to say to you now that has not already been said? When the prophets predicted the other captivities, they spoke not only of the captivity, but also of the length of time it was appointed for each bondage to last. For this present captivity, now that the Jews are around, however, they said no time, but to the contrary, said that the desolation would endure until the end. I think in regards of Rome would be. I think he's mixing some things. Anyway, and to prove that what they said is true, come now and let me offer as witnesses the events themselves. And again, and he says the Jews will never come back to Jerusalem, but they are back in Jerusalem. So, boo-hoo, you have already a problem there. You pretty much didn't have things. If the Jews had never attempted to rebuild the temple, they could say, if we had wished to set our hands to the task and to begin to rebuild it, we could by all means have completed the task. But now I shall show that not once, not twice, not 3 times they did attempt it, and 3 times, like wrestlers in Olympic games, they were thrown on the ground. Therefore there can be no dispute or question, but that the church has won the victory crown. Well, I remember one thing in regards of history where the Jews tried to get to restore the temple, where it failed. So I know one time, but I can't remember the details. But anyway. Yet what kind of men were they who set their hands to the task? They were men who constantly resisted the Holy Spirit, revolutionists bent on stirring up sedition. After the destruction which occurred under Vespasian and Titus, these Jews rebelled during the reign of Hadrian and tried to go back to the old commonwealth and way of life. What they failed to realize was that they were fighting against the decree of God, who had ordered that Jerusalem remain forever in ruins. Well, not forever, it seems. So, but again, I read something interesting where Jesus was talking about a parable in regards to Matthew, where he talks about, you know, yeah, this is actually Matthew 22. Just much better to just read the Bible instead of all this guy, you know. It's just weird things and all that. But again, you know, maybe some gold nuggets will fall out, you know. Just seems to be long from the gold, you know. You really have to dig a long time before there comes some gold out. You know. Let's see, 22. Yeah, 22. And Yeshua responded and spoke to them again by parables and said, "The kingdom of the heavens is like a sovereign who made a wedding feast for his son, and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come." So he's sending out his servants. You know, Jesus was sending out his disciples as well, right? You know, to the people, saying, "The kingdom of God is at hand." Anyway, and if they didn't want to hear it, they should, you know, dust off their feet and walk, you know, along. And send out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. So in regards, wedding feast are okay to keep. You know, that's biblical to keep a wedding feast. They're not like, it's not like rooted in paganism in regards of, you know, it's a wedding, you know. Again, he sent out other servants, as long as it is between a man and a woman, and not two men and not two women, or a man and an animal, or a child, or, you know, that's just no go. All these things as abomination. It's between one man and one woman. And again he sent out other servants, saying, "Say to those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle are slaughtered, and all is ready. Come to the wedding feast." You know, so he's saying, come on, everything is slaughtered, you know, come to my wedding feast. But they disregarded it and went their way, this one to his field, and one to his trade. And the rest, having seized his servants, insulted and killed them. I think that was something something little different in the Danish, but yeah, so it says, you know, not insulted, it says in Danish, it says mistreated in some sense. Yeah, mistreated them and killed them. That's the Danish word. Anyway, but when the king heard, he was wroth and sent out his soldiers, destroyed those murderers, and lit their city on fire. Could that be talking about Jerusalem? You know, Jesus is sending them out, you know, his disciples. They are hunting them down, they're persecuting them. Like, for example, Paul persecuting them. The Jews are persecuting these believers. And, you know, so could this be talking about Jerusalem? I think it could, you know, maybe, you know, in regards of those murderers, and lit, you know, and sent out his soldiers, destroyed those murderers, and lit the city on fire. I think God used what is this? I think God used his what is that? Oh, it's I'm coloring myself black apparently, but I think he used the Romans to destroy Jerusalem. Anyway, then he said to his servants, the wedding feast indeed is ready. So it's still ready. But those who were invited, which would be the Jews, the circumcised, were not worthy. They were not worthy to come to they didn't want. Therefore, go into the street corners, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding feast. And those servants went out into the street corners and gathered all whom they found, both wicked and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. So we have wicked and, you know, bad and good and all that are invited. But then we have a little slight thing here in regards of, you remember Jesus was rejecting some of and we have different where he rejects things. But anyway, so it goes on. And then the king came in to view the guest. He saw there a man who had not put on a wedding garment, so he didn't put on it. The question is this talking about having rejected Christ or something? But they're invited. It's a little hard to. But there's this guy in what do you call it? Wedding garment, and he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here not having a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, "Bind him hand and foot, take him away, and throw him out into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen." I'm not sure why it's only talking about one person, because when you're talking about the 10 virgins, like five clever virgins and 5 not clever virgins, so it seems a little weird that just one guy at this wedding feast has a problem. Yeah. But maybe it's just to illustrate the idea of it, I guess. But we get now we can have the "there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." We still, this is something that comes again and again and again. So again, seems to be a link, where you link the parables together, yet they are different parables, using different day-to-day life things and so forward. Of course, some of the things we don't have that much of, what do you call it? It would have been more normal beforehand. Us people living in the city and all that don't really know much about, some of these things. So you want to have to, but there are some, for example, there's a documentary in regards of some of these things where they show, doing these things, how they were doing things in the old days and so forward. And that's pretty interesting to see. That's from the one movie that I've seen is from Nazareth. They have like this museum, and they made this. I think that's them that made this video. It's pretty good to get some more idea of the things. When Jesus is speaking, how at this and that and these things that flew off the corn, and can't remember what they're called and all that. But anyway, just to get some more understanding on these things. Okay, so let's see. So when I'm reading this, it just seems like maybe it's in some sense it's talking about God destroying Jerusalem, because by using the Roman soldiers, because the Jews rejected Jesus, and thereby yeah. Anyway, of course, the God is in control, right? If God wanted to defend Jerusalem and the temple and all that, he has been, he can do that. If he wants to do it, he can do it. And that's the thing with the Jews today, the Jews being in Israel. If God didn't want them there, they would not be there, How can you explain that they are there and not uprooted, even attacked again and again, How are you going to explain that, God has, used, pagan powers before to do his will, So, now they're there, Maybe we should just let them be there, when God is taking them home, Because we might actually burn our hands if we try to take them out, or anyone try to take them out, All that hatred from the Mohammedan countries, you are just, just out of your mind, It's like, if God is taking them back to this place, who are you to go against what God wants, Anyway, going to burn your hands if you're going to continue doing these things, Anyway, let's see. What they failed to realize were fighting against the decree of God, who had ordered that Jerusalem remained forever in ruin. Now again, it's not a ruin in our days, and it's growing and all that. But maybe but maybe we are close to the end times. Maybe we are actually getting very close to things getting very, very seriously. Now, of course, everything has been seriously before, but maybe we are actually really, getting, close to things getting really, yeah. But anyway, but it is impossible for a man to wage war on God and win. So it was that when these Jews made their attack against the emperor, they forced him again to destroy Jerusalem completely. For Hadrian came and utterly subdued them. He obliterated every remnant of their city. To prevent the Jews from making such an impudent attempt in the future, he set up a statue of himself. But this is in regards of 135, I would guess. But he sets up a statue of himself. Statue. But again, if Hadrian, as I understand it, Hadrian is after 70. I think it's in the future in 135. I'm not sure, but I would think that would be in regards of 135. And if that is true, the temple is already destroyed, so that would not be fixed as a abomination in regards to the temple, so that wouldn't discount that thing in regards of statue of himself. Yeah, okay. But I think the Antichrist will have a statue put in the third temple, but we'll have to see that. Still future things. I'm still studying. I could be wrong. But I think there's a good possibility that the third temple will come, and that, there will be made an image of the Antichrist and put in the temple. But we'll have to see. And when that happens, the Jews need to flee their city quickly and move out in the mountains, according to Jesus. If there is still a future thing, If it hasn't been fulfilled in regards to the Romans 70, 80 years. Anyway, but he realized that with the passage of time, his statue would one day fall. So he gave his own name to the ruined city. In this way, burned on the Jews a permanent brand, which would mark their defeat and testify to their impudence of their revolt, since he was called Aelius Hadrianus. He ordained that from this name the city was to be called Aelia, and to this day it is called by the name of the emperor who conquered it and destroyed it. Well, in our days it's called Jerusalem. I don't think anyone calls that city Aelia, Of course, it would be fun to see the reactions of the Jews in regards. Oh, yeah. Do you know where, in regards of Aelia, Aelia or something like that, But no, it's called Jerusalem. I think all the maps say Jerusalem. It doesn't say Aelia, just Jerusalem, And when the Antichrist put forth in regards of the Crusades, they went for which city? Jerusalem, not Aelia. And of course, maybe the Mohammedans changed the name back. I'm not sure. That would be around 600 years. After 600 years when they captured Jerusalem. Not sure what year they did that. Maybe they renamed it to Jerusalem. I don't know. But many other cities apparently they renamed into Mohammedan names. Anyway, do you see the first attempt of the impudent Jews? Now look at the next. They tried the same thing in the time of Constantine. Oh, Constantine, okay. But the emperor saw what they tried to do. Cut off their ears and left on their bodies this mark of their disobedience. Yeah, Constantine was seemingly not a Jew lover, of what I've seen as well, and he hated the Sabbath as well, and thought to change it to Sunday and all that. Let's see. But the emperor saw that what they tried to do, cut off their ears and left on their bodies this mark of their disobedience. It seems pretty rough, cutting off the ears of people, because they wanted to you know, make that temple. Yeah. He then had them lead around everywhere like runaway slaves and scoundrels. So, you know, I'm not sure when Constantine did these things, but he doesn't really sound Christian to me, you know. No. And some of the other things that he did doesn't really sound really Christian to me. And of course, he still have his coin with the sun god on it and all that. You know, if you're a Christian, why would you ever have such things on, you know? Why would you have anything to do with paganism if you're a Christian, you know? And of course, we can ask the Catholic Church about that, of course, right? You know? So all might see their mutilated bodies and always think twice before ever attempting such a revolt. I'm talking about revolt. I thought you were talking about the Jews wanted to make that temple again. So so Constantine saw that they wanted to make a revolt or what, you know? I don't know, but a lot of Christians died in the 1st century, it seems, you know. And we see that Judaizing things and all that. So, but sadly, again, we lost some material in history. And, you know, probably all the good yeah, well, it seems to me, you know, that, you know, people that you just would have liked to see their writings and all that lost to history, censored by Satan, goes against the Roman Church. We can't have that. Get it away, you know. Yet these things happened very long ago, the Jews will say, but I tell you that the incident is well known to those of us who are somewhat in years and are already old men. But what I am going to tell you is clear and obvious even to the very young, for it did not happen in the time of Hadrian or Constantine, but during our own lifetime in the reign of the emperor of 20 years ago, Julian, who surpassed all the emperors in irreligion or something like that. Irreligion. Invited the Jews to sacrifice to idols. Oh, yeah. Why would you do that? You know, invited the Jews to sacrifice to idols in an attempt to drag them to that's a good question. To drag them to their own level of ungodliness. How is that in regards of why would you try to get the Jews to sacrifice to idols? And you know, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't even do it yourself, you know. You shouldn't even sacrifice to idols yourself. You shouldn't force anyone to do it. That's just horrible. Just horrible. You know, you see these people, you know, this doesn't matter if you know, you don't take side, you just stand with Jesus and with the truth and the Bible. You know, you have to be careful of taking sides, and everything is good on this side, but everything is bad on that side, you know. You shouldn't worship idols, you know. If the Jews don't want to sacrifice to idols, they are, boo, good. You shouldn't do that. He used their old way of sacrifice as an excuse and said, in the days of your ancestors, God was worshipped in this way. Yeah. What filthiness, you know. They refused his invitation. Oh, yeah, I would guess so. I would do the same thing. I would say to him, no, God says we shouldn't do those things, you know. You should stop doing it. And you shouldn't promote others to do it. You know, that's filth. You know, that's no go. They refused his invitation, but at that time they did admit to the very things I just lately proved to you, namely that they were not allowed to offer their sacrifices outside Jerusalem. Or maybe they just used it for an excuse to tell Caesar that, you know, we're not going to do it, you know, like a sweet way of actually, you know, getting around it in some sense, you know. Our law says we're not allowed to do it. That's easier to say the law doesn't allow us to do it than actually in regards of, you know, besides Jerusalem. But anyway, okay. I'm sure we can find, you know, support for it in the law that we are only to sacrifice in Jerusalem. Yeah, it's, yep. Anyway. In any case, now they have Jerusalem again, right? So it can't be, you know, just a temple and there you go. You have sacrifices again, and You know, anyway, the answer was that those who offered any sacrifice whatsoever in a foreign land was violating the law. Yeah, well, I would guess that it would be a good argument to use, at least against the Roman Caesar, to tell him, you know, no. You know, to try to not, what do you call it, hurt his feelings, to say, well, we're not going, yeah, well. So they said to the emperor, if you wish to see us offer sacrifice, oh, that's a wonderful, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. So they said to the emperor, if you wish to see us offer sacrifices, give us back Jerusalem. Rebuild the temple, yeah, show us the Holy of Holies, restore the altar, and we will offer sacrifices again as we did before. That's a good one. That's a good one. And that's a, yeah. Hey, if it works, you know, if it works, it worked, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, I think it's great. You know, I think it's fair that they try to, hey, if you want us to sacrifice, you know, just give us Jerusalem and a temple, and you know, just, yeah, sounds great. You know, that's good. I think that was good. These abominable and shameless men had the impudence to ask these firings from an impious pagan to invite him to rebuild their sanctuary with his polluted hands. Well, they probably would have, you know, they probably just needed help and allowable to do the things, you know. So, you know, it's but anyway, they failed to see that they were attempting the impossible. Well, yeah, if it goes, it goes, right? You know, they did not realize that if human hands had put an end to those things, then human hands could get them back for them. But it was God who destroyed that city. Yeah, so, and no human power could ever change what God had decreed. Well, I'm going to say it once again, Chrysostom. The Jews are back in Jerusalem. I'm sorry to, you know, destroy your ideas and all that, but yeah, the Jews are back in Jerusalem. But what God, the Holy One, has planned, who shall dissipate? His hands is stretched out, who will turn it back? Well, maybe he will turn the back, and maybe he will bring the Jews back when he wants it. You know that God is in control, right? He is the highest authority. So now that the Jews are back in the country, it must be him who is actually fixing these things, you know. Anyway, and even using pagan powers, you know. No big surprise there, you know. It's done it before. Why not do it again, you know? He's the Lord, you know. Stretch out, who will turn it back? What God has reared up and wished to remain, no man can tear down. In the same way, what he has destroyed and wishes to stay destroyed, no man can rebuild. Well, we'll just see what happens to the temple, right? If there's coming another temple. You know, again, we are already going in that direction. The Jews are back in Jerusalem. It's under Jewish control. Might be also be in regards to the Vatican, but of course the Romanism is still in regards to the prophetic power and all that. And the Antichrist, of course, is the Roman Caesar on this earth. You just have to find the Roman Caesar, people, and you find the Antichrist. So that's the best that I can see, at least, you know. The Protestants knew about it. And that was pretty much agreed on in regards to the Protestant. They had many things they didn't agree on, but in the regards of the Antichrist, they pretty much agreed on that. And where did they point? Who did they protest against? I do wonder. Do you know who they protested against? Anyway. That's why they're called Protestants, because they protested. The Reformation failed, people. It became a protest, you know. The church didn't want to reform, to go back to the truth, biblical way, so it became a protest. So, of course, we Protestants, those that protested, was cursed by the church and on so many levels, So, don't worry, I have no idea how many curses that church system has put on me. But anyway, we are not to curse people, we are to bless people. So, it's no problem, it's just... we are to love our enemy and all that. But still, they have some problems. And of course, we should tell them that, you are actually doing wrong, Anyway, I grant you that the emperor did give you Jews back your temple and did build you an altar, just as you foolishly suspected he would. But he could not send down to you the heavenly fire from on high. Oh yeah, that was some history in regards of when they fixed the temple. And this is an outside source thing from the Jews, where they have the sacrifice and the flame comes down from heaven and suck up or lick up the sacrifice. What a vision it must have, or what a sight that must have been. Think about it, sitting on the Mount Olives and just seeing this thing come. Oh yeah, if there's going to be a temple, we probably need to go to Mount Olive and see when in regards to the first sacrifice, and see if God is going to make like a fire from heaven. I don't know, but it could be cool, couldn't it? Just sucking up the sacrifice. I don't know if he will, but it could be cool. It could be very cool to see. We have problems with the power, which is okay, it's nice actually, because I needed an empty battery anyway. So that was the whole idea. So let's see. To you the heavenly fire from on high could he, yet if you could not have this fire, your sacrifice had to be an abomination and unclean. Yeah, but if God accepts it, then it would go, right? But we'll have to see. Maybe because of Jesus, but it won't happen. But it would still be a cool thing, to see. Abomination and unclean. Okay. This is why the sons of Aaron perished. They brought in a foreign fire. It's in regards of Korah or Korah or something like that. Nonetheless, these Jews who were blind to all things called on the emperor for help and begged him to aid them in undertaking to rebuild the temple. The emperor, for his part, spared no expense, sent engineers from all over the empire to oversee the work. Oh, so they actually, that's maybe the one that I've read about before. Summoned craftsmen from every land. So actually it works in regards of... he left nothing undone, nothing untried. He overlooked nothing, but worked quietly and a little at a time to bring the Jews to offer sacrifices. In this way he expected that it would be easy for them to go from sacrifice to the worship of idols. You see, Satan is just a sneaky one. He just wants us to worship what is not God, And if the Jews are hanging fast to not bow down before idols and worshipping and sacrificing to them, I think that's a good thing. You just don't do that. The rebuilding of the temple, he who catches the wise in their craftiness straightway made clear to him by his actions that the decrees of God are mightier than any man, and that works get their strength from the word of God. They started to work in earnest on that forbidden task. They removed a great mound of earth and began to lay bare the foundations. They was just about to start building when suddenly fire leaped forth from the foundation and completely consumed not only a great number of the workmen, but even the stones piled up there to support the structure. This put a stop to the untimely obstinacy of those who had undertaken the project. Many of the Jews too, who had seen what had happened, were astonished and struck with shame. The emperor, Julian, had been madly eager to finish the work, but when he heard what had happened, he was afraid that if he went on with it, he might call down the fire on his own head, so he and the whole Jewish people withdrew in defeat. So it seems like Seems like God didn't want the temple at that point. So the thing is, if the temple is going to be, if the temple is coming up, you know, without any problems, it seems like it must be His will, right? You know, but we'll have to see what happens. You know, he claims also in regards that the Jews wouldn't come back to Jerusalem, but they are in Jerusalem. So even today, if you go into Jerusalem, you will see the bare foundation. That's interesting. I wonder where that would have been. You will see the bare foundation. I wonder where he would have wanted to build this temple. So there should have been a bare foundation. Are we talking about, because some say it's like a Roman camp where the, you know, up on the what do you call it, and some, you know, but here he's talking about a foundation, so it must be there someplace, you know, bare foundation for the temple. He, you know, it would have been interesting to actually see where he would have liked to build it. If you ask why this is so, you will hear no explanation other than the one I gave. We are all witnesses today to this. For it happened not long ago, so that would be maybe in the 4th century or something like that. But in our own time, consider how conspicuous our victory is. This did not happen in the times of the good emperors. No one can say that the Christians came and prevented the work from being finished. It happened at the time when our religion was subject to persecution, so that must be before 325. When all our lives were in danger, so maybe it's like the 3rd century. When all our lives were in danger, when every man was afraid to speak, when paganism flourished. So again, I'm not sure when this would have happened, but of course one could go back and see what emperor it actually was. Which emperor was? Wasn't that like the name of the emperor someplace? I think it was, but I can't find it. Anyway, you pretty much call him emperor a lot of time. Some of the faithful hid in their homes, others fled the marketplaces and moved to the desert. Bye bye, we have a power off.